Hi, this is Chance Stevens from TVLampsandBulbs.com. What you're looking at here is the brand new addition to the family. It's the Samsung PN42B450. We actually just got it here into the office, aka my living room, about an hour ago. And for all you there watching, wondering, it comes separately with the base and the television. This is a little bit different than one of the other Samsungs I had before, the 50A450, the previous model, bigger brother. So let's go ahead and, what? Doesn't look like it wants to come off, so let's see what else we got here. Okay, in the box, we're looking at the usual suspects. Here's the power cord, and it looks like we have of course, the Samsung manual and the remote control. So you'll see that inside of the container that comes with the television, they basically give you everything that you need in order to get your television running. You have the bracket in case you want to mount. You have the generic Samsung remote control. This works for many of their later 2009 plasmas and LCD TVs. And of course, what TV would be good without microfiber? You need that. Okay, next we're actually going to take the cover off the TV and show you what we're working with. So here is the TV in the flesh, and you'll see that just like regular standard Samsungs, it comes with the decal, which outline the features. So they highlight the partnership with the NFL, the fact that you got the mega dynamic contrast, new for 2009, as well as the 1/1000th of a millisecond response time, 3 HDMI connections. Also, one big difference from the Samsung versus other brands like Sony is the fact that the base actually swivels, which is great if you have a space with lots of different degrees of viewing. So, not to bore you with any details, but in case you wanted to see what the back panel looked like, wait, there's a money shot right there. You see that you got the VGA connector for those people that want to hook it up to a computer. You have 2 HDMI connections. There's another one typically on the side. You have the space right there for your antenna. And also right here is where you can plug in the USB, so that way when there are new firmware updates available, you can plug it right in. So next thing we're going to do now is actually get this puppy set up and give you an idea of how good the picture looks. Alright, and we're back. Alright, so what you're looking at right now is what we usually watch TV on here at TVLampsandBulbs.com, which is a Sony KDL 42V 4100. It's 1080p, beautiful, but that's not what we're talking about. Instead, we're talking about this beautiful creature right here, which is the Samsung PN42B450. A lot of people have been looking at it. A lot of people have been talking about it. I wanted to take it up a step and actually get one. So I went to my local H.H. Gregg. I went there, picked one up, and said, hey, I'm going to look at this thing and do a review just for you guys. So right now you see that we're at the beginning screen where we actually have to choose stuff. So I'm going to tell you things while I'm doing this. Sorry if this isn't professional yet. This is actually the first time we're doing this, but enough of the apologies. Here we go. So you'll see that it wants to know what language. Let me see if I can. And it's set to English, so we're going to go ahead and say OK. Enter. It wants to know if we want to set up the store demo or use it for home. So at this point, it wants to see where it should expect the video source to come from, and currently it's set to over the air, so we're going to change that to cable. At this point, it should be going through to check and see whether or not it has any television stations, but we actually use this with DirecTV. No comment on cable versus DirecTV satellite or dish, but it is what it is. We're actually going to stop this since ultimately the cable box is the one that drives the television signal. So at this point, we're going to set the clock, which is set to automatically go on. Daylight savings time, we're going to set that to auto till we're on the eastern coast. And here, essentially, it's just setting up plug and play, giving you some information on what everything is, how to set it up. If you're not familiar, this is going to be great information since you can read it and understand what to hook up and how to hook it up to get the most out of your television. Now, at this point, we should be able to change the connection so that way instead of the source that it's currently on, it'll go to the source that has our satellite. So at this point, you'll see that NCIS is on. Big fans of the show. But also, what you'll notice there on the left-hand side is that you can control the source that's active basically just by hitting the source button on the remote control. And the TV actually knows where you have something plugged into. Not only that, you can actually label these. So let's say that you wanted to specify that HDMI 3 has DirecTV and AV1 has your game console. You can go ahead and do that. But now that you've seen the TV, we've gone through setup and turn it on, now we're going to actually show you some of the menu. So here you see that Panasonic, Sony, Samsung, what they all do really well is give you really in-depth menus, and this TV doesn't fail in that category. From this screen, which is the main picture screen, you can go ahead and change the picture mode to standard, or you can go dynamic or movie. Dynamic is really bright, whereas movie is going to be much darker. The great thing is that down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to notice that it gives a little definition of each of the different modes as you move through. Once again, if you aren't familiar, it's going to be a fantastic way to learn and educate yourself so that way you're making great decisions about your television. Next is the sound. Samsung TVs typically have great sound. This TV actually has two 10-watt speakers. So we're not going to touch anything here, but it is good to know that this TV does have SRS True Surround Sound HD. So if you happen to have a surround sound system, or even if you don't, you should be able to get some great sound out of this. Another feature which is phenomenal, and if you don't know what this is, then you'll love me and you'll love this TV. Auto volume. What that means is when you're watching TV and the commercials, if you've ever noticed that commercials seem much louder than the television show, auto volume is a setting that will fix that for you. Next is setup. This you really don't need to worry about if you have kids. It has a mode for V-chip. You can also set up to game mode, which is great for people that are concerned about plasma being used for playing console games. Also, when you turn the TV on, it plays a sound, and it's one of those things, just one of those bells and whistles. Next, you'll see here input. So as mentioned before, you can actually go ahead and change the name of any of your inputs. So, for example, DirecTV is running off of HDMI 3, so we can go in there and say satellite STB, which is short for set-top box, and there it is.